go. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast with me, ImperialDane. And today we have a guest with me, the marvelous Krebscoho from the Krebscoho channel, also known as Krebs, who will be joining me in the commentary today.
Yes, I'm here and ready to give you guys a good replay. Now, Dane, have we actually started the replay yet?
No, I'm still paused. I'll let you know when I actually go, but I figured we might as well get the introduction done before we start everything.
Sounds good.
So then we have Semois, a 1 versus 1 map. This wonderful little map, which I was informed by Mr Krebs is in fact a small river near the French-Belgian border, and besides that I don't really know much more about it. Anyhow, in the northern half we have me, the marvelous ImperialDane, as the 106th Panzer Division, and in the southern corner as the Americans we have Purple.
We have
you go ahead.
Purpleoctupos.
Yes, Purpleoctupos, Captain Purple of the 4th Infantry Division, ready to take on the vaunted 116th. Let's see how this goes, and we'll be starting the match in 1, 2, 3, go! Starting up with a Wehrmacht quarters in my side, and the 2nd Pioneer team quickly on the move. Rather regular Wehrmacht start, actually.
So, basically I'm going to be following the Americans down below. Since Dane really loves his Wehrmacht, so he'll be following them. I'm following the little Purpleoctupos down on the south side. He's building a barracks as his first structure, obviously as his first structure, and it is actually not on the border of his base, so I would actually recommend that he extends that a bit farther away just to make save some time over the long run, but instead he is opted to just build it close to his HQ and get a rifleman on the go.
So all the standards right there, nothing deviant so far.
All quite standard, I would say. I do like his capping order. He's actually capping away at the munitions point on the lefternmost side of the map. This is sort of a awkward munitions point. It's always guaranteed that it will be for the Americans or whoever is playing on the western side of the map. But what a lot of people like sometimes do is that they forget about this point. So I do like how he's just gotten rid of it right away, captured it, and so now he doesn't have to bother with it anymore. When it comes to more capping, he is extending rightwards, and he has a rifleman grabbing the first strategic point in the center of the map.
Indeed, although it looks like he's actually bypassing it.
So what could that mean?
Well, it could mean he's probably going for a more aggressive approach and trying to hunt down my Volksgrenadiers, who are busy themselves capping the nearby munitions point.
If we're talking about actual strategy, I like how he's trying to be aggressive, but the thing is, I think early on in the game you should really try to capitalize on capturing points and getting resources. What do you think about that?
Well, it depends. If you can inflict a devastating blow onto your opponent early on, and for example here he's already trying to hold my seizure of territory and instead force me on the back, possibly even force me into my base, and there we see a jeep, so we can probably expect some jeep pushing.
I actually enjoyed how he came to that building on the side, because that building just beside the river, it has only about 1 or 2 windows on that awkward small side, so what he was doing was actually focus firing on your man, and he managed to take out one of those little Volksgrenadiers in that building when you came out. So quite an interesting sort of tactics. He knows what he's doing. Also like this jeep.
Yeah, and now he's trying to actually push around my Volksgrenadiers. There's just one problem with it: doesn't really work with 2 teams, which means now that the jeep is itself getting focused fire and won't make it out, I suspect, crashing right into the fence.
Ouch, so quite a bit of losses for Purple right now. He's bringing out a 2nd rifleman squad, and that is pretty good. At least he won't be losing riflemen as quickly as a jeep.
No, Indeed, and the Volksgrenadiers used the Jeep to partly illuminate them, which looked rather nice, and then of course use it for cover and force the riflemen back. We see some further capping in the north and south, going for the strategic point in the South Strait rather than the fuel point, which is certainly going to make it harder for me to seize the victory point and munitions point and link it up with the rest of my territory.
He surprisingly actually captured a lot of strategic points, despite only using engineers at the moment, because all these riflemen were pretty much hogged up, just trying to take you out. But surprisingly, he managed to take quite a bit, so well done to him.
Indeed, it's been quite an aggressive strategy he's been employing already, but right now being halted in it by my MG42 and of course further Volksgrenadiers, which is forcing him to pull back a bit, and I'm going straight now for his strategic cut-off point right in the north.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Purple is just in a bit of trouble right now. You've got solid control with your MG and your Volksgrenadier, so that is quite a formidable force. Him losing that Jeep early on is, you know, a lot of losses in the early game. When you lose one or two men or squads in the early game, that can really push you back.
Indeed it can, and now I have a motorcycle on the field to augment my forces, and it's rushing straight to the strategic point where I've currently also been laying down a mine.
Now we have bars coming up from Purpleoctupos right now. When we're talking about strategically, usually you should wait for a few more rifleman squads before you bring out bars. I do recognize that he had a Jeep out on the field, but then again he only has 2 riflemen out on the field right now. You should usually wait to have at least 3 or 4 before getting those bars on the riflemen.
Actually, he does have 3 teams. One of them is down to the south, and I do believe I've spotted this since I'm quickly maneuvering my MG42 team.
So that's a sneaky team. Mostly teams have been going for the center. It seems like we actually had that sneaky team on the right hand side, and yes, ImperialDane was totally right. I'm just checking. He's got 2 engineers at the moment and 3 rifleman squads.
And a rifleman team crashes right into a mine, which is certainly pinning them and forcing them on a hasty retreat, while in the south my MG42 looks like it will be denying the Americans an attempt in the south, and there we go. 2 teams suppressed.
Now I recognize bars are a pretty good weapon. I mean, they do obviously a lot of damage, but in this map particularly, the Wehrmacht have quite a bit of an early advantage just with all the buildings, because they can get their MGs in the buildings and set up some very defensive positions. I do like how Purple is actually responding to this correctly by getting a WSC, so he's going to be going for some sort of counters, because obviously he recognizes that Dane has some sort of held up defenses in his bases, in his buildings, should I say.
Well, yes, the buildings can be an advantage, but they can also be a disadvantage, since they can in fact block the line of fire, which can in fact work to the disadvantage of the Volksgrenadiers and MG42s if worked aggressively enough.
So that's quite interesting. So we got a bit of a movement of riflemen at the moment. They're going to be going for the center. They obviously recognize that the right hand side is closed off, that Dane has indeed conquered the right hand side and has solid control. I did recognize that you put a bit of barbed wire along the right hand side, just to block the enemy from actually getting across anywhere sneakily.
Indeed, it's at this moment I'm suspecting some rather aggressive rifleman tactics, and yes, we see him going straight upwards the roads, ignoring the city in fact and bypassing it, and I'm only just discovering because of my pioneers that he's making this maneuver. Well, I have Volksgrenadiers and Grenadiers moving in towards the south, and of course he's currently alarming me to his presence by beginning to seize territory, but I do have one advantage up my sleeve, a half-track.
Oh, I was just about to say that you should watch out, because Octopus actually has 2 flamethrower squads on the field as well. So again, recognizing that you have held up forces in those buildings, and those flamers definitely a good counter to all that.
But one of those flamethrower teams was quickly disabled by mine and a motorcycle.
Yeah, you've definitely got some good placement of your mines on this map, so I like how there's that sort of strategic placing. And this is another common thing, like I usually mention whenever placing down mines, it's really important, even if you put in such random places, they always are able to, funnily enough, just hit guys. I mean, you can put them in even like an awkward place in the very corner of the map, and it's just so ridiculous, but it seems like anytime you put down a mine, people will hit it.
And we see some skirmishing near the western house. Rifleman dodging a grenade, so certainly he knows a thing or two, but now the grenadiers are being reinforced by a half-track, bursting its way in and unleashing a horde of foot grenadiers upon it.